Good day to you. How many nights have you laid in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and you just keep scrolling through TikTok videos? One after the other. You need to go to bed. There's that one. You'll give the next one more chance to be funnier than the previous one. You're going through TikTok videos. Or if that's not you, how many nights have you laid in bed going through your television channels? There's the Kardashians. There's ridiculousness. Or how many nights have you been getting ready to go to bed and you're looking at your laptop and you're going through your social media feed? All of these circumstances are examples of human beings seeking out entertainment. And in fact, that's what drives much of our media use today across the world, not just here in the United States, but across the world. We are seeking out entertainment. And so that's why we have this particular focus in this class, a class that's looking not just at comparing media from around the world, but looking specifically at comparing entertainment media, because entertainment media occupies so much of our energies. We want to understand that phenomenon. So today is our first chapter discussion, so to speak. Today is our first discussion question response. It's going to be assigned to you, and you're going to be writing that response by 5 o'clock tomorrow, and you're going to be posting it on D2L. All this is explained on the syllabus and in the discussion link, but I'm also letting you know about this right now so that you can focus on this lecture from that point of view, that you're going to be applying a lot of the material I'm talking about, as well as your own reading, to the discussion question response that you're going to be doing by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So let's continue on, and we want to make the statement that the book already makes, but it's an important statement. That is that there is an unprecedented avalanche, an unprecedented avalanche of entertainment media that are available today. You can get entertainment media from so many different sources. You can go on your phone, and whether you have a subscription or not, you can be at entertainment within moments. It's probably all over your social media feed, or you can go looking for it by searching on the web or going on YouTube. Same with television, entertainment all over the place. These are the two primary places that we get entertainment from, but we do get entertainment from newspapers and magazines and films and other forms of media. But the point is that today, because of the internet, there's an unprecedented avalanche. You know what that were? All piles down on top of you. That, I think, is a very important metaphor to understand just how vast the entertainment is out there. And Facebook and YouTube, the two biggest platforms that people use, not counting Google, which is a browser. Actually, Facebook and Google are not really browsers. They're really advertising agencies. That's what they are. More about that later in this class. But Facebook and YouTube, they have billions of users every day, people just seeking out entertainment. Billions of people every single day. Within this entertainment environment that we have out there, at our fingertips, literally at our phones, we also have a kind of competition and struggle that's going on between legacy media being those media that were around before the internet. I'm talking about books, I'm talking about magazines, I'm talking about film, I'm talking about radio, I'm talking about television. Those are all legacy media. Those media are competing with new media that are based on the internet, all the social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And there are also other kinds of media on internet media as well, websites that people have out. So we're seeing a clash of these two different groups as they sometimes harmonize, sometimes get bought up by each other, sometimes are in competition with each other. That's a theme that will be coming across throughout the book. Within this entertainment landscape environment globally, we also have content producers like Netflix, which got in the game of distributing content. That's what Netflix was originally. It mailed DVDs to you in the mail of a movie, and then you have to send it back. And now Netflix is producing Money Heist. Netflix is producing shows like Money Heist. It's producing its own content. And so this is also adding to the availability of that avalanche of entertainment content that is out there. So why is entertainment so important to human beings? I mean, let's not dismiss it, right? There's got to be something about it. It's so magnetizing. It draws us to it. So why is that? Well, the book makes the point in this particular chapter that entertainment actually plays a vital role in our development, and that role is the role of play. Plays a role is playing. We like to play. Kids have playtime, right? We invented sports because we like to play. Even if you go back to the BC times, you'll find that there were athletes kicking around primitive balls. And golf came about in the Highlands of Scotland, people knocking around a feathery It was this kind of a sheep skin that was made of some stuffing that they would knock. Human beings like to play. That's why gaming is so important. That's why Pokemon and the interactive Pokemon that you can go find on your phone. That's why people engage in this kind of behavior, because play is a very important part of developing our fun side, our amusing side, our creative side, our sense of joy, our sense of competition, our sense of winning, our sense of losing. So today you could say that we are in an entertainment age. You could say that's the age we're in. We're in the entertainment age. And you can also say that there is an entertainment economy, that a whole big chunk of our overall national economy, as well as the economies across the rest of the world, are made up of the consumption of entertainment, the consumption of film, the consumption of websites, the subscription to premium film services like Showtime and HBO. That's a big part of our economy. Within the entertainment circulation that's taking place across the world, and also within and without, we have a larger movement, a larger era that's going on, and that is the era of globalization. The movement of globalization of countries and peoples and cultures and governments and businesses coming closer together. That's what globalization is. We know more about each other than we did ever before. You probably know some things about Thailand, even though you haven't been there. You probably know some things about Russia, about Argentina. You probably know some British comedies. You probably know these things because you have access to them, because globalization is this process of countries and peoples and governments and cultures coming closer together because the internet makes it possible. That Netflix series I mentioned, Money Heist, that's one of the big reasons that I actually went to visit Madrid, Spain this summer. I was already in Portugal. It was only 45 minutes away by plane flight. I went to Madrid because that's where Money Heist was shot. But that show, Money Heist, you can watch it in Spanish or you can watch it in English if you want. You can watch it in other languages as well. That's what the internet has made available. It's made the accessibility, even of foreign language content, very, very easy, very facile. It's a part of this new economy that we have that is within and without of globalization. It's circling, pushing us all around. But at the same time, as the book makes clear, the chapter, there are anti-globalization movements going on as well. That's what the Donald Trump election was all about. That's what Brexit was all about, is nations reacting against other countries having say over them. So this is also something else that is going on in globalization. It's a resistance to globalization. And within this and without it, you have media operating. So we're going to take on some of those issues as well. Speaking of issues, one of the things that we want to point out is the imbalances in information flow out there, and by necessity, the imbalances in entertainment flow around the world. So here's what this is all about. UNESCO, UNESCO, the United Nations Engineering, Science, Culture Organization, something like that. It's a branch of UNESCO, the United Nations. It's a body that tries to bring the world together. It itself is a quasi-government agency of globalization. It has an agency, UNESCO, that tries to create and preserve social justice around the world in a number of areas. Actually, when I was in Madrid, Spain, and in Portugal this summer, they have sites, historical sites, like an aqueduct built by the Romans. That's what carries water from a river to a city. Massive aqueduct still exists in Spain. That's being preserved because UNESCO and other United Nations organizations, they try to preserve cultural heritage, and it's the same idea behind this imbalance in information flow and entertainment flow that I want to talk about now, because UNESCO did a series of studies that raised awareness of the fact that developing countries, poor countries, southern hemisphere countries, and smaller countries, all those kinds of countries, they are usually on the shorter end of the stick when it comes to the volume of information that flows between the two countries in the media, and the entertainment that flows in the media between the two countries. So if you take the United States, for example, and you take a small country like Panama, what have you ever watched on United States television that has been Panamanian? Nothing, probably. You've probably never seen A single show from Panama, even though Panama is the #1 country in the world to retire to. It's got to have something good about it, right? But you've never seen a show. Do you think Panamanians have seen American football? Do you think Panamanians have seen the Kardashians? Do you think Panamanians have seen Big Bang Theory? Probably. Probably because the flow out of the United States is great. And our TV programs and our films and a lot of other media content that we produce on the web is going out of our country into other countries, but there's not much coming back in. And that's what Unesco is saying. And it's also saying that when we do learn about another country, a lot of times we're learning about it through the eyes of our own people. So, for example, if CNN goes to cover a natural disaster like it did in Haiti last month, which had not only a presidential assassination, but also an earthquake, who's going to tell the story? Is it going to be an American or is it going to be a Haitian? So we end up learning about Haiti in the media through American eyes in most cases. It also was brought up by UNESCO that countries really should have the right to represent themselves in the media flow, and that there should be more even flow between developing countries and developed countries, between poor countries and rich countries, between southern hemisphere countries and northern hemisphere countries. Basically, this issue arose because of Britain and the United States. That's what it came down to, is there's so much media coming out of these countries and going into other countries feel that their culture is threatened. We even have a relationship with Canada. It's the first country we're going to study next class, where Canada has restrictions on how much American programming, how much American music can be played on Canadian radio, because they don't want the Canadian culture to be snuffed out by a more dominant American culture coming into everybody's houses through their television sets and through their cell phones on the web. So we'll be talking about balances, or imbalances rather, in information flow also. And this also points out that there is an American media empire that's out there. It's the rise of an empire. And just like in the old days, countries used to be wary of empire building and imperial designs. You know, that's where a country wants to occupy other countries. It wants to invade other countries. It wants to take those countries and add to its landmass. But today, that kind of imperialism is not done by military force. Today, that imperialism is done by media, and it's called cultural imperialism. If you go to France and you want to have a meal, you'll be very irritated as an American probably, because you'll wait forever for the waiter to come. Finally, the waiter will come. Then you'll order, the waiter will go away. It takes forever, then they come back, bring you drinks. It takes forever before they come back. And then you eat tiny little portions. And you eat 3 different meals. You've got a preliminary course, your appetizers, and you've got your entree. And then you have a dessert, but the dessert is not what you think. The dessert is cheese and fruit. And then when that's all done, you have this thing called a digestive that you drink. It's a little shot of like a fruit liqueur to digest the food in your stomach. That's the way the French eat. Guess what happens when the French start watching a lot of McDonald's commercials, or Burger King commercials, or Wendy's commercials, all of which air in France? What happens is the culture starts to change. People no longer eat in the way that the French do, because the French believe in eating and taking your time. Having a nice calm evening. You want your stomach to be relaxed when you eat. You don't want it to be all tense. You want it to be relaxed, and that's why you eat the way you do in France, and that's a part of their culture. So if you're showing Burger King ads and McDonald's ads and Wendy's ads and really any kind of fast food, you're showing how to eat, you know, with everything in the cup of your car, in the cup holder of your car. Burritos, sandwiches, hoagies. You know, that's what we eat, and you eat on the run. You eat while you're moving, while you're talking and moving. We do that in the U.S., and that's a way of living. And so France and other countries are wary of the American empire and the infiltration, not just of media into their countries, but American culture. And it goes the same for British culture as well. And you go to other parts of the world, you find that it's the same between China and Mongolia. China is in that role that the U.S. was it just in that I was speaking about. Much of what's propelling globalization, to return to that concept, is a large profit-making adventure that's being taken place by global media conglomerates. They're seeking more profit. And they reach a ceiling in our country. There's only going to be so many people that will watch Dancing with the Stars. So the companies that are involved in producing that program, they got to look elsewhere, see where they can put that elsewhere in the world. So we have global media conglomerates, the really big ones like Disney and the News Corporation. We're going to be talking about them in this class as well. Lastly, I want to mention the concept of hybridization, which is also related to globalization. It's when you have this clash between the propelling of nations and peoples and cultures and governments closer together versus people who don't want to be controlled by others, people by other countries, people who don't want to have too much sameness in our clothes, our media programs. Within this, you get a concept that's called hybridization, which we'll be talking about in this class. Hybridization, and that is where you have locally produced content or regionally produced content that fits within a globalization pattern. So an example of hybridization, local and regional production fitting in with a globalization pattern, is the show American Idol. Nothing could be more American than American Idol, right? Got that American talent up there on the stage singing, so American. Except that show was invented by a German company, the Bertelsmann Company. And they invented it on a TV station in Britain, Channel 5. And the show was called UK Idol. Yeah, UK Idol. Was it UK Idol? No, it was Pop Idol. Excuse me, Pop Idol. That was the name of the show. And then Fox got wind of it, said, we want that show. We're going to bring it in. We're going to recall it American Idol because our media content tends to get more audiences when people feel patriotic about what they're watching. So we're going to not call it Pop Idol. We're not going to call it Rock Idol. We're not going to call it Singing Idol. We're going to call it American Idol. That right there is hybridization. Overall, you have the marketing of a format of a show. And you have that format that's being played in many countries. The contests of singers that get voted off the show, etc. But here in the United States, it has its own personal idiosyncratic, if you know that word, American stamp. It is American Idol. That is hybridization. As a local, in this case regional, not referring to region like Monroe County or the Northeast, referring to U.S. in terms of the whole world. That's what the regional and the local means here. What those terms mean here. So the rest of the book is going to be covering individual countries. We're actually going to be moving down through the Northern Hemisphere as we go in the next few classes. We're going to go Canada, the U.S., Mexico. We're going to take on Canada next time. But this will set up for us why it's so important to study entertainment. And now, if you will, please get back to your TikTok.